Today we continue on with our NHL season preview series. In this video, we're going to be wrapping up our look at the Pacific Division, where we look at the Los Angeles Kings as the final team in this division. It's been 4 straight years of making the playoffs, losing in the first round. This team's been through a fair bit of change over the offseason. We'll analyze how those changes will impact the upcoming year and our expectations for the team coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have another team preview to look at here today, and it's our last one in the Western Conference Pacific Division. We're looking today at the Los Angeles Kings. Of course, a team that's been a perennial playoff team for 4 consecutive years now. Unfortunately, hasn't had the playoff success, and now they're faced, of course, with a big piece of their team entering his final NHL season. So we're going to analyze kind of how everything is expected to play out here and our expectations for this team. Now, in case you're new to this series, we're going to recap the 24-25 season, take a look at the team, some key individual stats, take a look at their cap situation, how the team changed over the offseason, additions, subtractions. We'll look at any rookies that we think will be impactful, any trades we might see, any contract extensions that we expect to see that are be newsworthy as well. Of course, we'll then look at the projected lineup and the top questions and expectations for this team. So let's recap 24-25 here for the Los Angeles Kings. We had a pretty good season overall, 105-point campaign, second in the Pacific Division. Record was 48-25-9, only behind the Vegas Golden Knights and slightly ahead of the Edmonton Oilers. They scored 249 goals last year, which was 14th best, so slightly above average, where the goals against was exceptional last year, 203 for second best, which was actually, I think it's fair to say, yes, they played pretty good defensively, but they had an exceptional season from goaltender Darcy Kemper, who had a major bounce back year. It was the first full season for Jim Hiller, of course, who had taken over as head coach the season before. We also saw, like I said, another year, unfortunately, of making the playoffs and losing in round 1 to the Edmonton Oilers. It's been 4 consecutive playoff appearances and 4 consecutive results that are the same. Different number of games each time, but overall, same result. And to be honest, I honestly wondered if we might see a coaching change in the offseason. We did not. Jim Hiller will continue, but in my opinion, I do think the coaching played a role in their first round demise against the Oilers. They had the Oilers where they wanted them early on, and some bad decisions let the Oilers back in, gave them life, and then they took over and there was no looking back. So I'll never forget that terrible challenge made by the Kings, which gave them, obviously didn't work. So the goal stands, and then on top of that, the Oilers get a power play, they score again, and then it just completely turned that series. And then, of course, on top of that, the Kings coaching staff was very reluctant to use their full roster. So a lot of their top guys were getting overplayed and getting tired out. And, that's why I really wondered if we'd see a change, but not to be. Like I said, the playoff streak for this team, it's been 4 straight years, all round 1 losses to the Edmonton Oilers. They last won a playoff series back the last time they won a Stanley Cup, which was 2014. So it's been 11 years since they won a playoff series. And of course, we had some years in between there where they weren't playoff teams, going through a rebuild, retool. And I think this is a pivotal year for the LA Kings. I really do. This is going to be a big season coming up. Looking at their top scorers last year, Adrian Kempe led the way with 73 points. Anze Kopitar was next at 67. Kevin Fiala was 60. Quentin Byfield with 54. And Warren Fogle had a nice first season in LA, putting up 46 points. Going into the upcoming season, after all their offseason moves, they have $2.6 million in salary cap space. Now, of course, the cap space managed by new general manager Ken Holland, formerly of the longtime manager of the Red Wings, of course, was with the Edmonton Oilers for a number of years before being let go from there, worked as the league executive last year. Of course, they decided to change the general manager here. Rob Blake and the LA Kings decided to mutually part ways. I think there was some belief that Blake thought that the team might want to make a change, and I kind of think they ended up mutually agreeing that it was time for a new voice in that role. So Rob Blake moved on. Luc Robitaille, of course, stays on as president. I think he calls a lot of the shots anyways, to be honest. And Kenny Holland comes in as the veteran guy to try to help this team get over the hump, if you will. So, yeah, we do have some change in that sense here with this team. Now, looking at how it changed, Kenny Holland's starting to leave a little bit of his mark on the club. We'll look at first the subtractions. Of course, Tanner Jeannot came over last year. He is no longer with the team. I wasn't shocked that they moved on from Jeannot. Jack Stanika, who had a small role with the team, no longer there. Gavrikov, who was a very important defenseman for this team, played a lot of minutes in the top four. Definitely their best defensive defenseman. He's arguably one of the better defensive defensemen across the entire NHL. So losing Gavrikov to me is significant. Caleb Jones is no longer there either. Jordan Spence, another player who was moved in what I'll call a bizarre move, but something that Ottawa was quite happy to do with the Kings. Jordan Spence, I kind of understand though to a degree. Between Jordan Spence and Brandt Clarke, or the Kings felt like they didn't really want or have a role or a spot for both of them, both being right shot defensemen, both being fairly offensively gifted, not being huge on either player. They didn't want too many small right-handed mobile D, I guess. So they thought, Clark being the higher rated probably has the higher ceiling long term, that they would continue to give him a crack at being a part of that team, and they would find a way for Jordan Spence to kind of get a fresh start. I think from Spence's side of it, it sounded like he didn't necessarily ask for a trade, but it was like, if I'm not going to be a regular, I'd like an opportunity to go somewhere else. At least that's the kind of the feeling that we got there. David Riddick, of course, who was the backup goaltender, also has moved on, no longer with the club. New to the team this year, you're going to see a trend with all of these names. So you get Yoel Armia comes over as a UFA from the Montreal Canadiens. You get Corey Perry comes over as a UFA from the Edmonton Oilers. Cody Ceci comes over as a UFA. Of course, played with a bunch of teams. Last year, split between the San Jose Sharks and Dallas. Brian Dumoulin, he comes over, veteran. Anton Forsberg comes over from the Ottawa Senators, veteran backup goaltender. Of course, Forsberg would have connection to assistant coach DJ Smith, where Forsberg was a big part of the tandem there during DJ's run as head coach in Ottawa. And Sam Bolduc also comes over as a depth option for them. So you see a trend. Take out Bolduc, but Armia, Perry, Ceci, Dumoulin, Forsberg, they're all older veteran players. They're all north of 30. Nobody got a big long-term contract or anything like that. But, Ken Holland is a firm believer on relying on the old veterans. So not so shocking here at all. But it's more so like you're trading Cody Ceci and Brian Dumoulin for Gavrikov and Spence, and I just don't know that was the greatest move. But we'll get into that here in a minute. The rookies that could have an impact on this lineup, I don't know that we're really going to see that. I don't know that this is really a lineup with the regime that are really fond of having a lot of youth, to be completely honest. Some of the younger players that have kind of worked their way in. I mean, we know there's going to be some younger players having an opportunity. Like I do expect more of a chance for Brandt Clarke this year. I expect them to continue giving a good opportunity to guys like Laferriere, to some degree Turcotte, Hellenius Thomas, like those guys, but that's about it. Liam Greentree, though, is the one rookie I wonder about, and can he impress them enough to get an opportunity, or is he going to still be waiting for that? We'll see, but he's the main rookie I think this team should monitor this year. As far as trades go and what you would expect, there's nothing real obvious, but they don't have a lot of space if they did want to make an upgrade somewheres. I think a guy like Trevor Moore is somebody that they might see as being expendable. I'm not completely sold on that. He's been a pretty good soldier for them, but I wonder about his long-term availability there. But again, not a given. We really see much of a reduction off this roster at all. As far as contract extensions go that we could see that could be newsworthy for this team, the main one being Adrian Kempe. And hopefully, I know that's possible. I wouldn't be shocked because I'm recording these videos on average of about 2, sometimes 3 days before I publish them on YouTube. So, it's possible that a Kempe extension could already be in place by the time we go from recording to post-production to having it posted on YouTube. So that might already be done, but it's definitely going to be a big piece of news for this team. I do think there's a high probability that they get it worked out. He's likely looking for a 7-8 year deal on probably at least $10 million a season, if not a little more. So we'll see where that works out. Looking at, actually one more contract extension that could happen, and I don't think it'll be until at least the second half of the year, and it's quite possible it won't happen until next offseason, but that's Brandt Clarke. He is in the final year of his ELC, and they could extend him or try to get a bridge deal or something locked up for his next contract pretty well any time, but I think they'll wait and see how things go for a bit before they do that. Now, looking at the projected lineup, we're looking at a goaltending duo of Darcy Kemper and Anton Forsberg, so that has the potential to be good. We'll see. The D-Corps will have a top pair of Mikey Anderson and Drew Doughty. That's not a big surprise. That's been consistent for a while. Your second pair likely will be, I'm guessing it's going to be Brandt Clarke. At least I hope Brandt Clarke's on the second pair and gets a good opportunity along with a veteran like Brian Dumoulin. And then you're looking at a third pair of a veteran D-Corps, Joel Edmondson and Cody Ceci, most likely being your third pair. Up front, your forward group, probably going to show a top line of Anze Kopitar, Adrian Kempe, and likely Kuzmenko on the other side. Kuzmenko, I think, played relatively well and was quite happy with the opportunity he got there. Second line is likely going to be Byfield, Fiala, and Laferriere. At least that's the way things project right now. We'll see. Third line projects as Philip Deneau with Warren Foegele and Trevor Moore. Your fourth line will definitely have a couple of things that will be consistent. One, I think Turcotte will be the centerman. Armia will be one of the wingers. And then you're looking at probably Corey Perry on the other side when he's healthy. Unfortunately, Corey Perry did get a pretty significant injury before camp started during their early captain skates. He had an awkward fall and ended up having knee surgery and is going to probably be out until sometime early to mid-November. So during Perry's absence, I expect a younger player like a Akil Thomas or maybe a Hellenius to get an opportunity to play in that fourth line spot. But I think on a longer term basis, you're probably going to have a couple of veterans playing with a youngster like Turcotte. Now, the top questions facing this team, and there's some big ones. Well, first, the biggest one for me is, can Darcy Kemper duplicate last year? Because we've seen some goaltenders, and Kemper and Forsberg both are notorious for this, of the inconsistencies. Great year, not so good year. Great year, not so good year. Kemper was in the Vezina conversation last year. He was at the top of the league in some of these categories. The year before, he was horrendous in Washington, and they swapped him in a bad contract trade with the Kings and the Capitals, hooking up on the Dubois for Kemper trade. Now, both players seemed to pick things up when they moved, and it worked out for both sides. But can Kemper keep it up? Like I said, he's not been consistent enough to really believe he can. And in Anton Forsberg's case, we'll see. I mean, he's been up and down in Ottawa, found a steady home for the first time in his career. For the most part, I think his Senators run will be summarized as being pretty decent. But even at the end of his tenure, when the team was a lot stronger, he was still inconsistent. So you can't put it all on the fact that the defensively or the D-Corps in front of him wasn't great for parts of some of those seasons. And even though that's true, like I said, look at last year when the team was the best it was during his whole time, and his numbers were still only okay. So clearly Forsberg is streaky too. Like I said, he'll have runs where he'll play 5 to 10 games and he'll be just awesome, and you're like, wow, this guy's really good. And then he'll have another stretch, 5 to 10 games, and you're like, my God, man, would you just make a save? So it's like the goaltending could be amazing or it could be mediocre, and you just don't know what you're going to get here. So theoretically, it could be really good. I just have some concerns, but can he duplicate that is the big question for me. The D-Corps, you've gotten older and less mobile. So is it going to be better? I just don't know. Like, I don't see how that can be. I mean, Gavrikov, one of the best defensive defensemen in the league, not there anymore. That's a big loss. And Jordan Spence. Jordan is a very mobile defenseman. From what I've seen, he's pretty good at both ends of the ice. I don't know that Cody Ceci is the answer to replacing Jordan Spence. Cody Ceci hasn't really been that great the last few years. So, I don't know. I mean, and you got Joel Edmondson. He's been good at times. He's also had a lot of injuries, so hopefully he can stay healthy. But, the D-core is definitely not going to be as mobile and as much of a good at moving the puck. And this is a team that was good defensively, but already wasn't amazing with scoring, so that could be a problem. We'll see. If the veterans come through, though, I mean, because you have some guys that are going to be pushing hard for ice time, like Kyle Burrows and Maurer. So they'll be pushing them there. And if the veterans are either injured or not playing well enough, they do have some options. Obviously, like I said, can Quinton Byfield take another step? That's huge as well. It's Anze Kopitar's final season, and they certainly had probably pictured this a while ago when they first got the rights to pick Kopitar, to draft Byfield to be Kopitar's replacement long term. So, we're at that stage now. So it's one last year where he can learn from Kopitar, be around Kopitar. Like, he's still, a 50-point player for somebody you expect to be your number one center. So it's been okay. It's been a slower development maybe. I know there's a lot of aspects of his game that has improved. He's certainly not, anywhere near being a bust, but he hasn't really produced at a number 2 overall pick either. And I just wonder, this has to be a big year for Byfield. He needs some big time development to be able to fill Kopitar's shoes, or this team could be taking a big step back next year. That's my longer term concern for them. So obviously, you got, is Kuzmenko there long term? That may not be a case. You got Kopitar in his final year. Doughty's only got probably a short time left. Darcy Kemper is also obviously, even if he continues to play well, he's, in the next couple of years, this team could turn over a lot of veterans in the next few years. The guys they brought in, none of them are going to be there long. Armia, Perry, Dumoulin, Ceci. You're only looking at 1 or 2 years for some of these guys. So, in the next couple of years, this team could look very different. So, in all honesty, I do think the Kings are going to be a pretty good team still. I think they're likely going to be back in the playoffs. But I do have some questions. I do have some concerns. And after this year, the concern level definitely heightens with the final year of Kopitar, and until he signs, the uncertainty around Kempe, and then you throw in the number now of veteran defensemen that are going to be near the end of their careers. You've got 4 out of their 6 defensemen that are not far off from retiring, so that could be a problem in the short term. Their window is only going to be open for a little while longer, I think, unless they make some big additions. So let me know what you think on the Los Angeles Kings and your expectations for them here in the upcoming season, and we'll talk further. If you're new to the channel, of course, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.